What we see when people get burnt out, first of all, it's just like extremely exhausted. So you sleep and you get up and you just still feel bone tired. It's like seeped into your very bone marrow. Leaders have had to work really hard to get to a certain place, and in that act, they've had to somewhat disassociate from the signals. Any grown-up parent in a busy job knows that, okay, right now I can't attend to these red flags, so I just have to keep going. Or they've just disassociated so much that they've got little insight into what they're feeling. And middle management is what I call sandwich stress. You've got pressure from below, pressure from above. Often your subordinates were your colleagues, so you're under a lot of scrutiny. And as David said, it's usually when you've got a baby or you've got, a mortgage, a new mortgage. So, this is a really, really stressful time for people. And people think, I've just got to get through this period. And one of the things about burnout, one of the characteristics of it is a lack of control, a lack of agency and predictability. So like, David was saying, if you're an executive, you kind of are sitting up on the balcony and you're like the DJ, making people go left or right on the dance floor. Where when you're in the middle management, you're just getting washed along with whatever new initiative, what strategic goals that have been thrown at you. And so that lack of agency and predictability is what makes you very, very stressed. And we can put up with a lot of stress if it's ours and we impose it ourselves and we know how long it's going to take. It's very hard when you don't have that information. And so what we see when people get burnt out, first of all, it's just like extremely exhausted. So you sleep and you get up and you just still feel bone tired. It's like seeped into your very bone marrow. And then what happens, like I said, people feel detached or they get a sense of cynicism. Like nothing really feels fun or good, or you just have this really kind of negative disposition towards everything. You see negativity around you. You can't feel hopeful. You just feel like today is going to be just as bad as yesterday, and tomorrow is just going to be just as bad as today. So you don't really see that things are going to change. And then eventually your performance will drop. And if your brain doesn't stop you with some sort of mental health disruption, we typically see that your body does. And I know when people experience stress, we have this continuum of types of stress. So there's people who are emotionally expressive, that they are stressed because they express it. Then there's people who are more mentally orientated. They get scatty, forgetful. Their brains aren't working as well. And then we've got the somaticizers, or people who look seemingly like they're coping on the surface, but their stress will manifest physiologically. And we see this a lot in middle management. And so their brains are saying, we have to keep going. We have to keep going. I've got this, amazing opportunity. And then their body will clap out. They will, get sick all the time. Their sleep will typically suffer. So if you're wanting to sleep too much or not being able to sleep enough, even though you're exhausted, that is a really big signal of burnout. And so what we see is that when people actually do have a burnout situation, it feels terrible. Physically, it's disorientating. You feel like your body and your mind have betrayed you. You feel like you lose trust in yourself. And so I see this a lot with people who've gotten quite early in their career to a management position. They have a burnout situation. It's embarrassing. It's humiliating. And then when they sort of get themselves together, or hopefully they do, and they get back to work and someone says, hey, how about you have this opportunity? Why don't you take on this extra work? Why don't you do this thing? People think, oh my God, that was horrific. I don't ever want to feel like that again. And people can actually shrink back and make themselves small. I see it a lot in females as well, because they're often carrying a lot of the load at home, the caring duties. They're running double shifts. And so it's a really awful situation to be in, where you have so much to give. You have so much, well, you thought you had so much possibility, but you just lose trust in yourself. And what's also terrible is maybe the people around you lose trust in the structural integrity of your ability. So someone says, why don't you give her or him that opportunity? And they go, didn't they have that burnout situation, last year? Maybe not. And they get passed over. So from my perspective, it's incredibly important to understand what is your first signals of stress. What is that thing that you start doing when you know the pressure's getting too high? Are you starting to procrastinate? Are you starting to get irritated by those around? Is everyone starting to annoy you? Is your sleep going? Are you becoming hyper vigilant? Are you trying to get to, like, lots of control? Are you trying to get, like you said, bake yourself into everything because you feel stressed about it? Notice those signals, and I call it interoceptive ability. So attending to those red, flags waving in your face before they become a gaping chasm that you fall into. And that's clever, right? People think, oh, I don't have time to this, or like that's weak, or, that's, something for tomorrow. You're literally stealing from tomorrow to pay for today. And what we see is when people do get into that stress or burnout, the very skill sets that they need to be an efficient, effective, strategic leader become eroded. So that is your prefrontal cortex, your executive functioning, all your planning, being able to prioritize, being able to understand risk profiles. You get really badly distorted thinking. So everything becomes catastrophic. Everything becomes an immediate priority. You have the inability to regulate, but is that a must or is that a need? And then you get into that manic, I've got to do everything. And then you're trying to work really hard. And then it's just like a self-perpetuating cycle where you end up not doing anything very well.
Well, that